The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome back to one more show of the Table Topics. And on the other side, we have John Sylvia once again interrupting work. I'm sorry, I was 3 minutes late because I was doing the same thing. And I look at the time, I said, oh, 4:03, so I better get online.
And remind me, right?
and remind me. And then I got online and Steve was here and he said, oh, did you heard from John? I said, oh, I need to send him the link.
Thanks.
Because you never got the link from emails, right?
No, I didn't. I didn't even check my email today, my personal one. Sorry about that. But we're here.
Okay.
We're here.
We're here. That's the most important. We're here to make the money. Because if we don't do this, we don't make money. That's the joke of the day.
That's it.
So, John, we all set with money city-wide because budget was approved. So that means that we have no problems there. Everybody's going to get paid. Everybody's going to keep work. And we will cover the $3.5 million at the end of the year because we know that we're not going to make it. And next year we will think about where we're going to rob people for more money. Maybe the meters will go from 50 cents to $5. God knows where, but we're going to have to pay anyway.
Exactly. I hear you. I mean, we'll see. I don't think this year is going to be the difficult one. I think 2021 is going to be far more difficult. So, and I think that's going to be everywhere across the country. We're all going to be in for it, and people better start planning and buckling down because it's going to be a tough couple of years.
Remember, by 2023, we are 10% more in property tax. Yep. We are 10% more than we are today because It's 5% every year. So we are 10% more, and we have Durfee to pay.
Exactly. We're I think we're fast approaching some of the other areas of the state and even the country right now. I think as what our taxes are. I mean, we used to have the distinction of being one of the lowest in Massachusetts, and I think that's not the case anymore. And I think even when you look across the country, there are a lot of areas that are far more reasonable.
I think we just breaking the line. People say we should do bankrupt. The city should go bankrupt and let them take over. And one of the excuses was, well, they're going to come in, they're going to tell us how much we're going to pay. Well, we are approaching that line that even if we're going to pay what they want us to pay, we are very close there already.
Yeah. No, I mean, people, depending on what kind of house you have, I know Rhode Island's pretty expensive. A place like, say, Barrington or Portsmouth, they're probably paying $5,000-$6,000 in property tax, depending, again, on what kind of house you have. But you also have to look into what kind of services do they get, their school system, how their roads are. We all know, just go across the bridge into Somerset, their roads are like 10 times better than here in Fall River. And granted, it's a smaller area. I totally get that. There's less traffic. But, when there's only a few $100s separating what you're paying, people do start looking other places. I think what's helping Fall River is that these other towns are a lot more expensive property-wise than we are, So.
Well, uh, and the school department, it's a huge problem for us. It's a huge problem because we don't have a say.
Yeah.
I mean, just send us the bill, whatever it is we pay. And I think it's a huge problem. At one point, when can we say enough? It's enough. I mean, it's too much money. I mean, and I repeat myself this over and over and over again. We survive our city, 80 or 85,000 people
Yep.
survives and pays the bills on the same amount that the school department spends and 10,000 kids. 10,000 kids. And
Yep.
our schools grades, it's not even that great. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're paying a kid to go in school and you say, you're working two jobs, but guess what? Oh, he comes home with, straight A's. He's a great student. You feel like, you don't feel so bad. You feel like I'm working two jobs. I'm tired. But guess what? My kid's getting a good education and he's going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
What else? This is like, working two jobs and having a kid that barely passes.
Yeah.
I mean, you get frustrated. It's even worth it for me to be killing myself, having two jobs to pay for a student, to pay for a kid that just wants to party, and don't care about the books, and he's not going to go nowhere. I'm going to die. He's not going to be. He's never going to graduate. I mean, you kind of lose faith on. I think that's where we are right now. Our school, it's not even perfect. It's not. I mean, our drop grade, our drop kids keeping it going up and up. I mean, you feel like you're just wasting your time and your money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is really nothing new. I mean, every gateway city deals with this. And I totally get it. I mean, it's you're kind of picking up that one seashell, and all the tides coming in. So I guess it's kind of looking at it as half full instead of half empty. But I hear you. I mean, it doesn't seem like it changes at times, and that is an issue. But I mean, can we blame it on one source? Can we blame it on? It's really every source. We have to get more parental involvement in the school systems. Kids come from some of our kids come from very precarious situations. So it's basically a societal kind of thing that's
Well, the
happening.
people, and when we were advocating for Durfee, that I went against, I mean, it was not against the kids. I still pay for my kid to go to school. I have no problem. As long as they want to study, I have no problem. I think it's my responsibility. Even if they over 21, my
Yeah.
daughter's over 21, but I still paying for school. I don't care. I
Yeah.
know I'm giving her, she's a good student and I'm giving her a future.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, at what point you're going to say, enough? It's enough. It's so much on that budget that they should be thinking of us.
Yeah.
We could get out of without this $100,000 printer, and instead having a $10,000 printer. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
mean, they could cut some corners there, and I think they just add because they know that if passes, guess what? We can hire another 30 people. I mean, when we are taking off police officers from the street to putting another assistant teacher on a classroom, I mean,
Yeah. No,
that's what I see, that we have a problem, and we should be allowed to put our fingers on that decision,
yeah.
on how we're going to spend the money there on the
Yeah.
school department.
I I hear you, but I don't think it's going to get any better next year. Um,
No.
depending on what happens with the state is the one that funds us. What if they come back and say, sorry, we have to cut you guys by 10 or $20 million? What would we do? It'd be a 2009 all over again, because we're not self-sufficient, unfortunately. And that's what happens. But, hopefully we'll get some good thinking here. I like to say the whole thing with the trash that I heard at the last meeting, where they're going to stop picking up from businesses that they've done over the last whatever it is, because it wasn't in there and we were doing it anyway. So maybe there's a way of people finding these things that we shouldn't have been doing. I have, anything can change, but there are things such as us with our zoning laws and just our zoning situation, where we get all these people that come back later on and the contractors didn't do what they were supposed to do. And then we're expected to go back and fix these roads and these connections. I'm hoping one day that we'll finally look at that. I mean, this has been going on for like years and it's never looked at. That could save money right there, with litigation and then having to probably fix this in the end. So there's many things that we can do in this city. Let's hope that they will start getting done. But yeah.
I bump into Michelle Dion couple of days ago, and I did mention to her that we want to bring her on the show. I think she has very interesting ideas about the trash. Even the president, city council president, congratulated her about the work that she's been putting into trash. She's been dedicating herself into solutions, new ideas for trash, so the city could save some money there, and thinking on the future. So I have to commend her for that. And we've been talking about trash for a long time, and I think it was like 6 years ago that we got that question on the ballot, and that's what really bothers me was 10,500 people voted yes for the transfer station 8 years ago. 8 years ago was going to cost us, with all the plans done, was going to cost us $13 million. Now we're talking about $13 million. It's nothing.
Yeah.
What we need. And that's the thing. People get elected and they don't work on the issues. They just work on whatever they want but benefit them. And the taxpayers are getting the end of the stick all the time. Is now the city council's turning around and say we have our backs against the wall. Well, you have your backs, you have it and you don't. You have your backs against the wall if you don't want to say no to people. If you're afraid to vote the way you want to vote. That's when you have your back against the wall. Because if you're thinking the other way, okay, that's why you should, if you vote your questions, and if you vote for the best of the people, you should never have your back against the wall.
Exactly. I agree. That's why, it comes to the point where go in for a couple of years. If you don't feel that you're doing a good job, leave. But, don't stay any longer than 2 or 3 terms.
I never was on that seat, but I believe that it's completely different when you're sitting on that seat.
Yep.
Until you sit on that seat, you don't know what it is. Over here on the side, we can say whatever we want. But you need to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Sit there, and if it's not for you, just come out and say, something, I thought this was a complete different thing. I don't think I can do the job. You're fine. You will look for another job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself, and don't suck the blood out of that person. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to have results. You can stay there for 20 years.
Yeah.
You're never going to get results.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's but hopefully we'll see. Hopefully we'll see something change. But I mean, that's why we need to get some new people to run too. People that have ideas as to how they're going to do that. I mean, it's not, we don't, I would like to see people be more proactive as opposed to being reactive. Like, we should be looking at our regulations. How are they going to do? How are they going to help us keep us out of some of these situations that we're in? You know, and our regulations or ordinances are few and far between. So that's something that should be looked at.
And you know something? The way this budget passed was not resolved, because you don't resolve a problem when one vote changes. Okay, that problem is not resolved just because the budget went back to the mayor and when send it back again, and 4 people still voting no. We have a huge problem with that budget.
Well, what I want to know, Carlos, is what were the no votes? What were the concerns? Why didn't those other 4 people vote in favor? That's what I would want to know. Is it something that you're not going to be able to ever solve? Like, what is the issue? Like,
well, issue, I think the issue, number one, was the police was not funded 100%. They were taking money, moving money around just to fill up holes that they know they're not gonna work. And one-time payments from 3.5. It's not $1 million, John. It's $3.5 million from cash funds. So that 3.5, I bet anything you want. Next year, that 3.5 is going to turn into a $7 million. It's going to double.
Yeah. Well, I mean, depending on what happens this year, you're right. You know,
I mean,
but what
it was a lot of things. It was a lot of things, but guess what? Nobody got laid off. Nobody got laid off. Well, sometimes it's tough. Sometimes the boss needs to lay off people so he can get back on their feet again.
Yeah. I hear you. We're in a never-ending situation here.
Well, another thing that I want to touch with you. Did you watch that video of those 2 cops getting shot?
Yes.
That it's all over the news. Did you watch that video?
Where did I watch? I don't really watch a lot of stuff on the news. I watched that on somebody had it on a Twitter feed. So yes,
well, I just posted the video on my Facebook page.
Yeah,
and it was the first time that I saw the video.
Yes.
And they're offering $275,000 reward now for information on this person.
Yep.
And I looked at the video very close. I think that was a setup and was not done by one person. And I think they actually can, if they follow other cameras around that area, they can get a lot of information and they actually can get the person that shoot. But on that video, I can prove there was at least 3 people involved.
Okay.
Because when he comes out of the corner, it's far, but you can see. He has a brief conversation with somebody standing on the corner. Now he walks into the car, okay? He shoots at the cops, and he runs back. Now remember, that guy that's standing on the corner, number one, he heard the shooting. Number 2, he sees a guy running to him.
Yep.
Right there, he could stop it because if he was not involved, because something was wrong. Okay? Yep. As he runs, so that's clue number 2. He heard the shooting, and he saw a guy running to him.
Yeah.
Even if he was afraid to intervene and stop the guy, okay, and let the guy go, he moves from one corner, the street, to the other corner, so now he can see the cruiser. Now he sees a police officer come out of that cruiser, okay, bleeding, and I'm pretty sure he's screaming. I'm pretty sure he's calling names, okay? He just got out after getting shot, quiet. So he's still standing on that corner, and he didn't come down for help. If you standing in the corner and if you see a police officer bleeding, okay, and if you heard something was wrong, well, your first instinct is run to the police officer and see what the hell's going on, right?
Yeah.
To try to help. So he does nothing. He does nothing. He stays in there. Now comes a car around him, picks up the shooter,
Yeah.
and then the guy disappears in opposite way.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. So right there, I kind of show you the picture of that whole scene.
Well, did you see the rest of it though after this, when the police
So-
officers were rushed to the hospital? Did you see that portion of it?
So after that, the only video I saw was they are behind the column.
Okay.
I think I think the female officer,
Yep.
she got shot on the chin.
Yep.
So she was able to take the 24-year-old officer
Yep.
and shield them behind a column.
Yep.
Because at this point they don't know if they're going to come back to finish the job. That's the thing.
Where did you see this, Carlos?
I found them on YouTube. Somebody posted on YouTube,
Okay.
and I share it on my Facebook.
Yeah. Now you didn't see
So
that on the news.
Allison has my Facebook. You probably could see from her account
Well,
the video on my Facebook.
the more disturbing portion of that, and if it could get any more disturbing, is that protesters went to the hospital and blocked the entrances. So they were having issues with the police getting in. There were people outside the hospital screaming, "I hope they die," and look, they get hurt, and on and on and on. That was what it was, almost as disgraceful as the shooting, for God's sakes. But you didn't see that if you watch the regular news, you didn't see that portion of it. You just saw that 2 police officers were shot, but they didn't show the portion of where people were blocking the entrances and screaming at the police, hoping they die, and on and on and on. So it kind of leans into what happened out in Pennsylvania, which I was really surprised. Lancaster, PA, which I know I've been to before. To me, the only thing I think of, because I've been there, is the Amish country and Lancaster. But apparently Lancaster, like everywhere else, I guess, has issues. And some woman called, I don't know if it was her son or her nephew or whatever, and said that he was having issues, and the police are walking toward the house, and this lady's screaming, and he's like, "Where is he?" And all of a sudden he slams the storm door open, jumps off the porch, and comes running after the cop. The cop is running backwards, and the guy's still coming at him with a knife, and he shoots the person. Now this person has been arrested and is awaiting trial for stabbing, I think, 2 or 3 other people in the last 6 months. And there were protests in Lancaster, PA, even after the police released the portion of the video, or the video of what happened. So it kind of goes to show you that it can happen anywhere. I think Lancaster has 20,000 people. It's outside of Hershey and Hershey Park and that area there. It's very quiet from what I remember. I was there 10, 15 years ago. So one thing like that can create quite a disturbance. But what I will give kudos to is that the people that were arrested, Lancaster, PA, and the community didn't mess around. They basically set their bonds at like $1 million. So those folks aren't going to wind up in the revolving door and end up and protest somewhere else. So I think that's what they really got to do. These cities got to do that. If you have the right mayor and the right chief of police.
We come to a point that somebody, an officer is trying to arrest somebody, gets slapped on the face twice before he even puts the handcuffs on her. She slaps him twice. So what's going on with assault? What's going on with assault? Right there is a huge, and it's on camera. Just because it's on camera, they think I got you. No, you got nothing. You got somebody just breaking the law. Just slapping a police officer, which is a violation, which is a reason for arrest.
Well, but you got to have the attorney be willing to do that. And now we had an attorney out in St. Louis that was prosecuting those two people that were protecting their house. 200 or 300 people were walking by their house, threatening to kill them and their dog. And the attorney for that county pressed charges against them for holding weapons toward the people that were trying to come on their property. It happened just last night in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. There was a group of people, somebody had a Trump flag on their porch, along with the American flag. I don't know if you'd seen that. It wasn't on the news. It was on their local news out in Milwaukee. They were out there harassing him, screaming, yelling, flashing lights in his window. He came to his storm door with a shotgun, and the Milwaukee police arrested him. Yet the protesters who were disturbing the peace, nothing happened to them. So we're in some very interesting times.
It's people have the rights. I mean, yesterday, I went to Airport Roads and I took the Rotary, and guess what? The man was there again, standing with the Trump's flag. I'm not a Trump fan, but the man has the right. So I gave him a time's up, because that's his right. He has a right to be there with whatever flag he wants to be holding on. It's just his right. Just because I don't care for whoever he's supporting, that doesn't mean that I cannot that I cannot have a conversation with him. It's a different, and people just need to calm down. Just calm down, and whoever you want to say that's a right, it's a right. You have a right. The other people have a right too.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue. You know what I mean? And the thing is, it's toward a Republican president, but it could be very true toward a Democratic president next time. So I don't agree with either of it. You know what I mean? If somebody wants to wear a red hat or put a sign in front of their house, they should be allowed to do that without getting harassed. And unfortunately, that's not what's happening this time around. So,
hey, I put my flag up on 9/11 for the first year. For the first time this year, I was not afraid though.
Yeah. Well, Carlos, it's kind of funny, right? Because, and it's kind of happened here in the U.S. to a point. I went to the UK back in, I think it was 82. Then I went back in 97. And when I went back in 97, you noticed the big difference. And I was talking to somebody about 3 or 4 years ago. And I said, hey, how's everything going there? Because they had family there, but they were American. And they said, there's a big sense of not being proud of the country. So an example was Britain, the Union Jack is their flag. And people were afraid to put their flag out representing their country because they were told it was it was on the backs of colonialism and all these other different things, So people were afraid to put their flag out. And there were companies that, I think there was a company, it was called British First or something to the effect, they sold British products. And people were harassing them saying, how dare you do that? Well, you're in the UK. So fast forward 5 or 6 years, and you hear that here in the U.S., where people don't want their U.S. flag shown at different events, or, people aren't putting their flag up. It's excuse me, stuff like that happens when you look at other countries and you see what's happening there, and now it's come here. It's a very scary proposition. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see that coming here. I would have never thought that in a million years, but it has come here, unfortunately.
Yeah. Times changed. But John, we are out of time. It was another half an hour. Very well spent. I spent with a friend, and we pretty much turned the cameras on and we chat. We chat about crazy times that we're going through. So have a nice week, and I see you next Wednesday.
Yep. Will do. Have a good night.